Hey everybody, welcome to the First Time Filers video series. Today we're going to talk about the 5 W's of how to file your tax return, the when, the wheres, the whys, and the reason why we as U.S. citizens file our U.S. tax return. A little bit about the Manning George Tax Services Corporation. We believe that tax education matters. And for that reason, we're here today to inform you on becoming a better tax filer. We want you to be in compliance, and we want tax filing to be easy and not overwhelming for you. So we want to ensure that you have the things that you need to properly prepare your tax return. All right, again, welcome, and we're here to give you just the educational facts, okay, on how to file. We know that tax filing can be daunting and even overwhelming for some people. That's why us tax professionals are here, so that we can properly ensure that you give us the documents that we need so that we can remain in compliance and get your tax return filed efficiently. All right, so again, this video is just for educational purposes to guide you and give you a clearer understanding on how to file your taxes. All right, so we're going to provide a little insight. Again, we're going to go over the who, when, wheres, and whys that we as U.S. citizens file our taxes. So why do we file? Well, of the 27 amendments is that 16th amendment that says that, hey, Congress can impose taxes on us, and that's why we file. So as U.S. citizens, we are a pay-as-you-go nation, meaning that as you earn taxes, you're supposed to, as you earn income in any source derived, whether you're self-employed, whether you work for an employer and you receive a W-2, or you may even be self-employed. So even in that instance, you're responsible for paying all of the taxes that are due, to include the Social Security and the Medicare taxes on the wages or earnings that you have received. All right, so who must file? All right, well, I love the way the IRS has broken this down. This is strictly from their site. And they broke it down in two categories. Either you're 65 and under, or you're 65 and older. So when we look at this chart, we'll see that it kind of falls in line with the standard deduction. So if your earnings are more, and you're filing single, if your earnings are more than the standard deduction, which is $15,750, well, then you are required to file. If it is not, you still may want to file, because what that does for you is it protects your Social Security number and anyone else filing against it. So you want to look at these charts, and if you meet any of these requirements, well, this tells you here that you are indeed required to file a tax return. All right, so where do we file? So we use Form 1040, and there's several versions of that that walks through your income, your expenses. Once you record your incomes, you're able to make adjustments to that. Those adjustments, they reduce your income or add to it, depending on if you have, say, for instance, a capital gain or a capital loss from investments. Then that adjustment will be made to your income, added to or taken away, and then that's going to give you your adjusted gross income. From there, that standard deduction that we talked about in the previous slide will apply, and that will reduce your taxable income. All right, so there's different versions of Form 1040 that you can use. We'll take that age again, 65 and older. There's a version out there that's called the 1040 SR, which is for seniors. That version, the tax form is printed larger for clarity and readability for our seniors. Uh, with the print being larger, it is going to take up 4 pages, which is more than the standard 1040, which is only 2 pages. If you're a non resident alien, you're able to work in the U.S., but you are not yet a U.S. citizen, then you would use 1040 NR. You're here either on a visa or a green card, so to speak, and you're authorized to work in the U.S., and you're filing against any earnings that were received while you were in the U.S. Okay, so let's look at what is filed. Okay, so when we're filing, we've earned that income. We have our paychecks. So at the end of the year, those earnings are calculated month by month, paycheck by paycheck, and reported on Form W-2. This is where your employer comes in and all your income earned is calculated on a year to date calculation. All right, so from there you have your taxes, which is your Social Security and your Medicare taxes. All that is taken out. Any elections that you have taken with your employer, let's say a health insurance plan that you've taken out, or even a 401k plan, or daycare expenses. If your employer is providing a portion of your daycare expenses, well, that will be located in box 10. So, any other deductions to include those health insurance plans or that 401k plans, or even your overtime or your overtime premiums, all that is calculated for you and reported on your W 2. So remember, your employer is reporting these wages against the business's income, saying that he paid you as an employee. So you want to, in reverse, report wages that you earned against what he said that he paid you. Okay, so when we look at down in box 15 of your W 2, we're looking at the state portion. So if your state is a tax authority state, they collect taxes on the state. I believe Florida is one of the states, Arizona may be another one that does not. Uh, File state uh, returns, then you are not required to file that state. But in order to file that W 2 with your tax professional, you want to be able to identify and say that you are who you say you are. So, in that sense, when you are taking a government issued state identification, you can also use a passport, but as long as the ID has not expired, then you're able to use that. You also have a social security number. If you're authorized to work here and you have not received a social security number, then you may be using an individual tax identification number issued by the IRS. So you would have applied for that before you take on employment with an employer. Now, you may also be self employed. In that instance, you are required to pay all of the Social Security and the Medicare taxes or your self employment taxes. So that will come out and be reported as well. If you're in school, you're going to get that 1098 for tuition. If you're paying for, you have a student loan, you may have your student loan issue. You may have inherited a house and you're paying property taxes, or you bought a house, you're going to have your mortgage interest. So, any tax identifying documents, you want to make sure that you gather those. And when you receive those, normally the envelope is going to say important tax documents. Well, as you receive those, you're going to want to put those in a folder so when the time comes to file, you're going to want to have all the documents that are necessary to give to your tax professional. All right, so let's talk about how to file. 85% of Americans, they usually e-file. So that's electronic filing. Your tax professional, she is an electronic return originator. So her professional software is going to allow them to electronically file returns. Well, why would we electronically file? Well, within 24 hours, you're going to know if your returns were accepted or acknowledged by the taxing authority, one being the IRS and the other being your state authority. In Wisconsin, that is the Wisconsin Department of Revenue. So you're able to know immediately from your tax preparer. You should get a notification in your email that your state or your IRS return has been accepted. All right, so then after that, you're going to wait on the processing time to receive your refund. Now, in the event that you're not ready to file, you're missing a document, in some cases, some 1099s are issued later. If you have investments, that's your 1099 DIV for dividends, or you have your 1099B, which says that you sold stock or any other investment instruments where you received either a capital gain or a loss. Then you're able to ask for an extension. That's with Form 4898, where you're going to ask for an extension. And what an extension does, as with the name of the form, it automatically grants you 6 additional months, meaning your return is due with the extension on October 15th. What that does is it only extends the time for you to file. It does not extend the time for you to pay. So if you have a tax liability, meaning that you owe, you didn't pay in enough taxes, and based on the amount of income that you earned, you have a tax liability. So that is due April 15th. If you're not able to pay that, you can work with your tax professional and they can immediately file an installment agreement. And you can determine how much you're going to pay per month, and that will be filed with your tax form, tax return. All right, so when to file? All right, so regardless of the year that you choose to file, and there's 2 of them, your taxes are due the 4th month and the 15th day of that year. So let's talk about the calendar year first. And it is as it sounds, it's the calendar year. The calendar year is going to start in January and it's going to end December 31st. That is the calendar year. So the 4th month would be April on the 15th day. Now, in the event that the 15th falls on a weekend or legal holiday, then your taxes would be due the next business day. Now, for some businesses, they choose what day they want their fiscal year to begin. So, in our example here, we're going to use March. So, from March to the next March of the following year, we're going to count 4 months and 15 days, which would be July 15th. That's 4 months and 15 days of the fiscal year. All right, so their return would be due July 15th. In the event that the 15th of July falls on the weekend, a Sunday or a normal or legal holiday, then the next business day, which may be my birthday, July 17th, their tax returns would be due then. Okay, so just to keep in mind, an extension only extends the time to file. It does not extend the time to pay. So in that instance, we'll talk about that in another video, but you could be penalized for failure to file or failure to pay. So that extension, again, extends the time for you to file, but not the time for you to pay. All right. So let's talk about a few terms here. We talked about gross pay. Gross pay is the total amount of earnings that you received for the year. If you're self-employed, that would be gross receipts when you're filing the income received on your Schedule C. If you worked as an independent contractor, you may receive a 1099 NEC, which is you're not an employee, the NIC, non-employee compensation, but you worked for the employer, so they're paying you. You're going to be required to pay your self-employment taxes, your Social Security, and your Medicare. All right, let's talk about net pay. Net pay is the earnings that you receive in your paycheck after your deductions. So remember, we talked about that health care plan that you paid for, that 401k plan. It includes in box 10 of your W-2 if your employer paid a portion of your daycare or dependent care expenses, then that will be in box 10. When we look at box 12 of your W-2, then that's where the amounts come out for your healthcare plans, 401k plans. Box 14 may be additional vision and dental plans that you signed up for. Let's not forget overtime pay and overtime premium. That overtime is not taxed, the half of it. So it would be the time and a half. So the half is not taxed. So if you're making $20 an hour, time and a half would be $30. Time, which is $20 an hour, half of that is $10. So overtime would be $30 an hour. So thanks to the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, then that would be entered on Schedule 1A. And your tax professional knows how to enter that and how to make the calculations for that, which is refundable. All right. So we talked about the year to date. The year to date is the accumulated total of all the earnings for that particular tax year. In this case, it's all the earnings from 2025. All right, so then we talked about withholdings. Withholdings are the taxes that you presented to your employee on the Form W-4 when you completed your onboarding process. You let your employer know that, hey, I'm single. If you filed for dependents and said that, hey, you're claiming your dependents, I recommend that you do not claim your dependents because your income is already going to be reduced um, by your standard deduction, as well as any child tax credits depending on the age. And with any credit, we know that there are restrictions and there are thresholds based on your income. So remember, your filing status determines your bottom line always. All right. So we will deal with more things in our upcoming videos. We do ask you to join us on our upcoming videos where we will discuss tax brackets and how they affect your bottom line. All right, let's look at some resources. So we have some federal resources here that talk about how to file, the steps it takes to file, the documents you need to gather, as well as filing on time. So the IRS, as well as for us, the Wisconsin Department of Revenue has really vamped up their site. They provide a plethora of resources for anything that you need to know when it comes to filing taxes. As far as you're deciding on a tax preparer to go to file your taxes, well, guess what? They have to be certified and listed as a tax professional on the IRS's website. So the link that I provided in the first one is how to find a tax professional near you. So we are required by law to be educated, meaning that we have a certain number of continuing education credits that we must complete in order to file for each tax season. We're also issued preparer tax identification numbers. So those are P10s. So if you're looking for a provider near you, make sure that number one, they are certified. Just because they're certified 1 year, it may not mean that they're certified the upcoming year. So you want to keep track of that and know who you're going to. All right, for the state of Wisconsin, the Wisconsin Department of Revenue has tons of information. I do encourage you to sign up for an IRS account as well as your state local account. There you're able to pull your tax history, previous tax year returns. You're able to find out the status of your return. Once your preparer files your return, you're able to find out where is it in the process. The normal processing time is 21 days, and you want to just check the status. Your tax preparer does not have to do that for you. However, if you call them and you want to know where your tax return is in the process, when will I get my refund, they're probably going to direct you to the IRS's page, irs.gov. Where's my refund? And I'm sure there's a link on your state page on where to find the status of your return. Again, the normal processing time is 21 days. They have been receiving returns earlier as 2 weeks, and in a couple, depending on your circumstance, your tax return may take a little bit more time to process. So the status you can find on irs.gov. For Wisconsin, you can find that on Wisconsin DOR, which is widor.gov. All right, this is how you contact us. You can email us here. Our email is provided as well as our website, which is https://mtsc-vte.com/library. There's tons of information that we have here. We actually process the returns as well, so you can find those on our tax professional page and follow the links there. All right. Well, thank you so much for attending this 1040 First Form series. Hope to see you in the next video and have a wonderful day.